Broadcasting from the heart of the Colorado Rockies, it's 4th and 99 with your hosts, David Slade, Keith Brookman, and Matt Stappiero. Now let's talk football here on 4th and 99.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another Denver Bronco NFL postgame show with 4th and 99 here on the Rocky Mountain Sports Network. Hope everybody enjoyed some football today. We'll break down the Broncos game, but with me today, as always, is Keith Brugman, and we have special guests with us, Kenny Kirkpatrick from K&K. Kenny, how you doing tonight?
Doing good. It's been a bad day of football for all of us, but other than that, I guess as best as I can be doing. Because I know it's painful for you Bronco fans, but I am a Giants fan for those who don't know, and that's painful.
Yeah, so, and Matt's chiming in. Let's go, gents. Matt is unable to be with us tonight. He's normally on the post-game show, but he is doing some family obligations tonight. So Keith and I are going to tie it down. So we invited Kenny with K&K to join us. So we'll break down this Broncos game. I mean, what went wrong, who's to blame, everything. We'll solve all world problems tonight. By the time we leave here at 6:30 or 6:45, we'll have everything figured out. And Matt hits it right on the head here. Tired of losing, and it's hard. Today, Keith, we managed 158 yards of total offense.
Amazing, huh?
How do you do that in an NFL football game?
It's fantastically obscene, I guess is the best way to put it. We've seen an offense that has struggled in multitude of ways. Today they found out a way to do it in every way possible. It didn't matter if it was through the passing game, through the running game, through not being able to get first downs and get into field goal range or get into the red zone. Just about everything offensively about went wrong. We were great at not turning over the ball, though. We didn't do that.
That is
true.
If
you're looking for the highlight, we didn't turn over the ball offensively that I can remember.
Right, and we ended up, how many turnovers did we have? We didn't have any turnovers. We had how many takeaways? Was it 2 or 3? We had 1 interception. Looks like
2 fumbles.
So 3.
Yeah.
So you win the turnover battle 3-0.
Yep.
And you lose a football game 17-13.
Yep.
That doesn't happen, Kenny.
No.
Any explanations is
game management. I don't know. Play calling on the offense, 2, and I guess number 3. Not number 3, but the game wasn't in my market, but I was able to watch some of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like I was watching the Broncos running back switch uniforms with the Raiders running back Jacobs, and Jacobs was on the Broncos because that's what you've seen from the Raiders the last 2 months.
Right.
Is 15 runs for 30 yards. And that's what you saw at the Broncos today. It's like they switched uniforms. And
right. In the pregame show today, we said, we don't have to worry about Josh Jacobs. The guy's not playing well. He's struggling.
Mm-hmm.
He comes out. He ends up with, let me see how many yards rushing he had. 129 yards.
Yeah.
4.8 yards per carry. So we said, his average is down. He's not doing good. We said, we don't need to worry about the tight end because Waller's hurt. And then next thing you know, here comes Moreau, and he's just running down the middle of the field, uncovered. Same thing.
I'll check you a little bit on that. Everyone said, "Hey, should we be worried about Josh Jacobs in the passing game?" And I said, "No."
That is true.
They're going. They continue to go through Moreau, and Moreau's been doing better, and it's been over the last few weeks as we've seen them hurt with Darren Waller out. So. The unfortunate thing is, like you said, I don't think anybody saw the Josh Jacobs get on track versus the Denver Broncos. And it really, for me, I felt like it was a tale of two halves. I pound this on the table. I think the great coordinators go in at halftime and then make great adjustments, and that's what really propels teams to wins is that second half adjustment. If you look at the first half, it was all about the passing game and Derek Carr going after us through the air. And then they turn around in the second half and they just continue to pound the ball out at us with Josh Jacobs and I forget his counterpart that was coming in on third down, but
Peyton Barber.
Thank you, Peyton Barber. You know, and just continued to pound it at us and used their passing game sparingly to get their first downs when needed.
And, I would love to know after Jacobs fumbled that ball, somebody had to talk to him because that fumble they got right out of his head and the game turned after that fumble. I would love to know what coach or player said something to him because they said the right thing.
Yeah, they definitely did. And Keith brought up a great point. Good teams go into halftime and they make adjustments. And they come out and they execute their adjustments in the second half. Vic Fangio is now 1-23 when trailing at halftime. We don't make adjustments, gentlemen. I mean, this is a huge reflection on our coaching staff and the execution from players. So, I mean.
And another stat, Dave, I jotted this down. Another stat that talks about how bad the coaching is. Broncos this year are 0-7 when their opponents score 17 points or more.
Yeah.
So 17 points. You score 17 points, you can forget about winning. You're 0-7.
Right.
That's
bad. Mean, how does Pat Shurmur maintain his job, Keith, going forward? I mean, is he a scapegoat tomorrow? I mean, do we start to see the foot drop and we start making some changes?
I would be fully on board. I mean, I don't know what the point of, I know statistically speaking, if you look at it, we're still in the playoff hunt. I don't know what he gives you if you let him continue to coach on the sidelines as it is, or I guess it would be from the booth
right.
as he calls down his plays. That being said, why not get the jump start? I think it's all but over with. I think you might as well call it. I mean, you hate to call a season before statistically you're out of it, but it's time to call the season. It's when it comes to the offense, Pat Shurmur has continued to show the exact same thing that we saw. If you saw any great plays that we saw from the Broncos today, it was typically over the middle. It was Drew Lock, it seemed like, making that decision to go over the middle, but because that was only like 10%, 15% of the plays that we actually saw that actually happened. The other 85, 90% of the plays were all in the perimeter, just like we see every single week. It doesn't matter if Teddy Bridgewater's doing it. Doesn't matter if Drew Lock's doing it. Doesn't matter if it's the first half. It doesn't matter if it's the second half. It's the same Pat Shurmur offense, and we just need to change it.
Right.
I'm ready.
And this comment here from Matt makes me sick to my stomach because this shows there is absolutely no accountability down there. And a future owner may look at George Payton and say, why did you continue to let this go on like this without holding anybody accountable? This is just, it's frustrating for the fan base. I mean,
yeah. For anybody who's just listening only, Matt chimed in and said Shurmur will make it through the end of the season. Get what you pay for, I guess. So, it is.
Yeah, thank you for clearing that up. So,
I disagree. I think he is gone in the morning. I do. And I've seen it with the Giants, and I don't always want to bring Giants into the reasoning, but like I follow the Giants. I'm a Giants fan. 6 weeks ago, we got rid of our offensive coordinator, Jason Garrett. Our offense was underachieving. Yes, at that time, we didn't know Daniel Jones was going to get hurt. Offense has been equally as bad or worse since Kinchins took over, but it's a spark. You got to change something up for this team to, salvage anything the end of the season, or this offense is just going to totally give up the next 2 weeks. And somebody's got to be held accountable. and I think it's Pat Shermer's your scapegoat. You want to call him a scapegoat, but that's usually the first person that goes is the coordinator, and then head coach after that.
Well, especially when you bring up that stat, Kenny, that we haven't won a single game where our opponents have scored 17 points or more. I mean, that's a huge indictment on your offensive coordinator and your offensive game planning. And we were talking about this before we came on, Keith. Vic Fangio shouldn't be getting away with anything either, because all coordinators have to take their game plan to their head coach, and it has to be approved. So Vic Fangio apparently is signing off on this stuff as well. I mean, so when does somebody start saying, "Hey guys, this just is not going in the right direction, and we need to move on." So
I just look at it. Think of the days, and we're all old enough, right? Of Buddy Ryan being on the Bears, right? And Buddy Ryan ended up finally getting a job on the Eagles. Ultimately, you'd love to have Buddy Ryan still on the Bears, right? He made that team so fantastic, and just pair him with a fantastic offensive mind. We have the number 4, number 3 defense in the league. I'd rather just pair Vic Fangio with a great offensive mind. And maybe it's Matt brought it up earlier in our show. We wanted this to be a co-head coaching position. Maybe it still is in the future. I know that he's had the head coaching position solely on his own, but if you bring in the right offensive coordinator who can help better lead this team, maybe it's more of a co-position, even if it's not officially named. You know what I mean? I just think that I don't want to give up on a defense and then all of a sudden go to a mediocre defense and a slightly better offense.
No, and I agree, Keith. I mean, we need to continue with what our defense is giving us, and maybe that is the way you approach this. You go to Vic, say, Vic, we're going to retain you, and we're going to go out and we're going to get a good offensive coordinator, and that person is also going to be co-head coach, because we need some help in some areas,
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I've seen Vic make some very stupid challenges, in his 3 years here. And you have a pass to, I believe, was it Cortland Sutton, that they call that a bound. It was close that he got that second foot down, know? Okay, Vic, why aren't you challenging that one, You
know why? Because he's listening to guys like us, I think. He's been called out this year. I looked at his challenges, and I can't remember the statistics, but his first year and his third year have been horrific. His second year, he actually was doing quite well when it came to challenges. But first year and third year, he's just been terrible. And this year, it just seems like everything he's calling is for the wrong reason. And
I got my tinfoil hat conspiracy theory if you want to hear it.
Oh, yeah. You got a quick one for us?
Yes, because Drew Lock was the quarterback, and he didn't want him to overturn that and give him more passing yards.
Gotcha.
I just want to respectfully disagree with Vic Fangio being coach with a good offensive coordinator next year, because before Vic Fangio was Vance Joseph, and Vance Joseph was a defensive head coach,
and
he had no offense. Bring in a defensive head coach next year, Dan Quinn, maybe Wink Martindale from Baltimore, and give him an offensive coordinator. Your defense is still going to be good. You're going to have a defensive mind running the defense, a good defensive mind running defense. And with a new offensive coordinator, maybe things get a little better on the coaching side, because Fangio cannot manage a game. He's not. Every time I watch him, I could see why you guys are sick with it.
Well, and I tried to bring that up this morning, and I don't think I got my message across clearly, though. But Vic does struggle with game management situations at times, I mean, yeah, I wouldn't mind bringing in. You bring in a Dan Quinn or a Martindale or someone like these guys, I mean, can still get these same players to, and maybe even elevate them a little bit. Because at what point does Vic maybe start to lose some of these players?
Yeah.
Especially when they see that this offense is just over there flailing around, doing nothing, and Vic's not doing anything to hold anybody accountable on that side of the ball.
Yeah, I think it almost gets back to the very beginning of this conversation, though, and it's really about making sure you start getting the right pieces in place. I don't care if it's who your quarterback's going to be next year. I don't care if it's who your offensive coordinator is going to be, or maybe letting go of that offensive coordinator right away to let everybody know you're out in the market and you're aggressive. You know what I mean? You want to get the right guy. It just, you need to follow through on these things if you want all the pieces to come into place. Because right now, whether it be our ownership, whether it be our quarterback, whether it be our current coaching situation, nothing is really, really, you know, desirable, to come running to the Denver Broncos. Everyone's like, "Oh, Aaron Rodgers." Well, maybe we're kind of lucky if Aaron Rodgers is considering the Denver Broncos because it's not the destination it once was.
No, it definitely is not. And, with all the turmoil and everything, does Aaron Rodgers want to come here?
Yeah. Does Wink Martindale want to come here?
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, it becomes difficult. Yeah, I want all these great names, but, do they have similar interest?
Well, and this is the thing that Matt and I have talked about before, and this is why we think that Vic may be back for one more year because the ownership situation is not going to be resolved until probably early springtime is what it's looking like. That at that point is not when you want to hire your owner. I mean, your coach. You want to hire your coach as soon as possible. So you can start getting your staff built, start getting ready. Scouting
Draft,
free agents and draft and everything else. I mean, so Vic may win by default, but if Vic wins by default for one more year, I don't have a problem with that because if we get a good offense, we could overcome some of these issues. I mean, teams are not throwing up 30 plus points on Vic's defense. I mean, we have opportunities to win football games, and our offense can't get out of their own way. So if we have to roll with Vic one more year and see where it goes, I mean, I'm not going to go, jump off the bridge downtown Denver, because Vic's coming back. If we can bring in, like I mentioned this morning, a Joe Brady type guy, one of these younger, explosive, new generation type offensive minded coaches,
Yeah. If you look at our last game, lost to the Raiders, they scored 17 on us. Lost to the Bengals, they scored 15 on us. Lost to the Chiefs, they put up a whole 22 on us.
Right, and look what they did to the Steelers today.
Yeah, I mean, lost to the Browns, they put up 17 on us. It's games that we should have the ability to win in a
Those
league.
are 4 very winnable games if you have offense.
You just need
win
some
2 of
offense.
those games, your season's turned around.
Right.
Correct. And we're talking about scoring 20 points.
Right.
We just need to score 20 points. If we could score 20 points in those games, we win them.
With the weapons we have on this offense, we should be able to score 20 points a game. I honestly believe that. Even with Teddy Bridgewater or Drew Lock back there quarterback, if you have the right guy calling plays, I think that you can truly, get those points. So, in this comment here, we are a QB away from being a playoff team. This offense isn't bad. The execution is, and I'm going to agree, but sort of disagree. The play calling was horrible today. 18 rushing attempts, I mean.
In a 1-possession game.
Right. This team is supposed to be built on the run. We're supposed to run to set up the pass and all that. We averaged, let me go back here. We had 16 rushing attempts for 18 yards. So 1.1 yard per carry average, Now, let me ask a question because a lot of people are down on Lloyd Cushenberry. Lloyd Cushenberry's out today, and our offensive line just was garbage. Do you think that Cush is getting a bad rap, Keith?
Oh, I think he absolutely is getting in a bad rap. I think, to start off the season, he was not the most steady center in the league. I'll give you that. But he has grown throughout the season, and I think he is a fantastic anchor for this offensive line, one that we should be very happy that we have, because he's to have a young, talented center in the NFL is not something that comes very easy.
Yeah. And this right here, and I'm going to bring this up again, where it says we are a QB away from being a playoff team. This offense is bad. It isn't bad. The execution is. I think we're not a QB away. I think we're an offensive coordinator away from being a playoff team.
I'll give you this. If you get the right QB, you're in the playoffs. Does that make you happy that you just made the playoffs?
No, absolutely not.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Kenny. Go ahead.
No. I was saying when
we've cut them up like 3 times.
I say that I had a little. If it was brought up, I had a little question for the two of you about quarterback for next year.
All right.
You guys are going to play GM.
Okay.
And I'm going to name these. I'm going to name these quarterbacks. I'm going to tell you what it's going to cost, and you tell me if you can pick one. There's 7 options here. I'll do them real fast. Aaron Rodgers, 3 first-round picks. Russell Wilson, 3 first-round picks. Deshaun Watson, 3 first-round picks. Kirk Cousins for 1 first-round pick. Matt Ryan for 1 first-round pick. Jimmy Garoppolo for a second-round pick. Or do you want to draft a rookie as a GM, Dave? I'll go to you first.
Can I only take one of those options?
Yeah. Well, you could do one with a rookie. You could do one in a rookie if you want.
Right. So if I'm doing that and I want to keep my first-round pick, then I'm going Jimmy Garoppolo for a second-round pick, and I'm going to draft a quarterback to groom in the first round, because I think there are groomable quarterbacks. I know this class is not great, but there are some guys, that I think with a year or two, behind a competent quarterback, which I think Jimmy Garoppolo is. I mean, his biggest thing is, he struggles with injuries at times, So you would probably have to keep another quarterback around to be your backup, because you really don't want your rookie to be your backup right away, So you maybe keep a Brett Rippon around, to throw Drew Lock into the trade as well and send him to San Francisco. So that's the way I would do it. Because
are you a playoff team with Jimmy G?
I think we are.
Okay.
Hey, you got to remember 2 or 3 years ago, he took the 49ers to the Super Bowl.
Oh, so I'm on board with Jimmy G for the Giants too.
And my second,
your second one would be a rookie.
My second choice would be Kirk Cousins.
Okay.
So, but now I'm going to let Keith go.
The funny thing is, that's a nice list there, Kenny. By the way, because you have me somewhat intrigued with Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan could be pretty explosive, but I'm going to go to Dave's second choice. My first choice would have to be Kirk Cousins. I think Kirk Cousins. I mean, he's just. You look at his stats and what he puts up for yardage, what he puts up for touchdowns, what he puts up for interceptions. I think you pair that up with the receiving core and the running backs that we have, and you have a playoff contending team. I think Jimmy Garoppolo is a hope. He's such a roller coaster for me, and if he's not injured, it's which guy's going to be on the field anyway. So,
right, and you have to make sure with any of these quarterbacks, you have a competent offensive coordinator. You can't have Pat Shurmur here running the show.
Right. Yeah, you with the right guy. My number one guy would be, I know my buddy Kurt, or friend, my co-host Kurt, Rodgers, Wilson. No, I'm going Matt Ryan. Beginning of the year, we said the Falcons were going to maybe win 2 or 3 games because they were getting blown out at the beginning of the year.
And what's
Matt Ryan?
What's Matt Ryan going to cost you?
1 first-round pick.
Okay, so that's not bad. I mean, the problem with Matt Ryan, Kenny, is the guy's so old. I mean, not so old. I'm 56, so he's definitely not my age. But in football years, especially as a quarterback, I mean, he's getting up there. How much longer is he going to play? I mean, you lose the first round.
Years.
If he can play for 3 years, I mean, that's doable as well. But
and then you draft a rookie and he plays behind Matt Ryan for a couple of years.
Yeah,
that would be the way I would go. I say first round pick, maybe a future first round pick. I don't know what the price would be for Matt Ryan, but that would be my educated guess. But
I stay away.
He's got them in contention.
I stay away from those other 3, especially if they're 3 first round picks.
Yeah.
And
I say that with the Giants too. The price has to be right for Russell Wilson. I'm not giving up 3 first round picks and my 2 first-round picks.
Okay,
in the top
Keith,
10
let me
this year.
ask you this. I mean,
Yeah.
what would you give up for Aaron Rodgers, if anything?
Nothing what like they'd want to have. Nothing near 3 first-round picks. I can tell you that. I don't think I would get 2 first-round picks for him. I'd probably give a first and some smattering below.
Right, because
it just. I don't believe in getting older quarterbacks. I want to have somebody that actually has a few years left in them. They just get too far along in age, and I know that the league has changed and it's made it more quarterback friendly. And then they see Tom Brady out there and what he's doing, and everyone gets all excited, and everyone thinks that everyone can play till 40 years old. And a great selection by Kenny. Not spending an arm and a leg, but getting a Matt Ryan, a guy who's older. But hey, you didn't give up 3 first-round picks for the guy.
right.
You know what I mean? Not much beyond a first-round pick.
And
so,
the
reason
I asked, because an article came out from Chris Barnhill the other day and said, Denver would give up a first and a second in 2022, a first and a second in 2023, and a player for Aaron Rodgers. You guys know where I stand. I don't want Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is going to cost you too much money, and he's going to hamper your ability to. We have depth issues on this team. It's not like this team is just stockpiled with talent, from players 2 through 53, and all we need is that one guy at quarterback, and we're good. We have holes we still have to fill, and we can't be throwing them away on a guy he's really under contract for 1 year. And he can say, "All right, well, I don't want to play there after this year. I'll play there that year."
And crazy things happen. Who knows if he's going to get, he tears an ACL, God forbid, in preseason. I don't want to wish that on anybody, obviously, but he gets an injury and he's out for the year or half a year. Then your draft picks and your season's wasted.
My ultimate way to proceed forward. Well, and it involves this year too. You have to play Drew Lock the rest of the season. You have to see if Drew Lock can maybe be a guy that you can start the season with next year and go ahead and draft somebody, and let him start learning, and he takes over maybe midseason, worst case next season. That is what I would do if I was the GM. That would be my plan, because like I said, we got other holes on this roster we need to fill. We got, I believe Matt said, 22 unrestricted free agents on this team.
Yeah.
We're going to have a huge turnover, so we can't be throwing draft picks around. We're going to need them, and so maybe a Drew Lock, maybe George goes down and says, "Hey, guess what? Drew's your quarterback the rest of the season. Let's see what we can do with him, and let's see how we can proceed next year." And if Vic doesn't want to do that, well, maybe Vic steals his fate as head coach of the Broncos. So now you guys can tell me I'm crazy.
No, I would go out like the Broncos, the Giants, other teams. What I would do is I would go get a good, solid backup quarterback who can start. Tyrod Taylor type, Gardner Minshew type, and let the rookie sit at least 1 year behind him. Draft a rookie quarterback, and he sits behind that veteran for 1 year. It doesn't come in unless you want to bring him in week 10 if you're out of it, or week 12, or if your quarterback gets hurt. I look what Zach Wilson's doing with the Jets. Nothing. Trevor Lawrence with the Jaguars. Nothing. These quarterbacks are getting rushed into play, and we're seeing what's happening. Mac Jones is coming down to reality a little bit now these last couple of weeks.
Right.
I just don't think they're ready right from college. I think you've got to let them sit.
It's very rare. I mean, it's very rare that you see a guy that comes in straight from college, goes to the pros, and really doesn't miss a beat. I mean, Joe Burrow was on that pace last year. I mean, till he got injured, but he's come back and he's having a great season this year too. So, I mean, there's guys out there that can do it, but it's less than probably 10%.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I mean, we need to have somebody who can groom a quarterback for the future. And I'm just tired as a fan of putting a Band-Aid over a wound that probably requires 20 or 30 stitches, So,
Yeah.
and that's my analogy of the problem that we've created here in Denver is we just keep, that little round circle Band-Aid that comes in the packages that I don't even know what they're really for. We're trying
I
to
think they put the little tiny ones. I think they put them on for a shot. When you get a shot.
Right. Yeah, we're trying to stick something like that over this gaping wound that we have, and I mean, we got to fix it. I mean, and we got to fix it right.
I remember once upon a time, it was several years ago, I heard an analysis say, why doesn't a team just go out there and draft a quarterback in the first round every year until they get their quarterback? I'm like, wow, actually, that's not a half bad idea. As much as some teams struggle to get their quarterbacks, like the Denver Broncos.
Right.
Hey, hitting back to the game, though, one of the things that we talked about pregame, and thanks for anybody who tuned into that, but we talked about, hey, what will Jerry Jeudy do? And in some of our predictions, Jerry Jeudy actually didn't have that bad of a day. 3 receptions for 60 yards on a day that Drew Lock threw for 153. That's a good majority of the yards that he was able to put up. Drew Lock 15 for 22. Keep in mind there's 2 drops, one by Jeudy that he was pretty upset about that I remember. The other one, of course, to Albert O that really could have changed the game near the end of the game as well. But 0 interceptions, only took 2 sacks for negative 13 yards. So
right, and he stood in the pocket even when the pocket got messy.
Yes,
he did not do like he used to do and just bailed out of the pocket. He stood in there, he stepped up, he went through his progressions, and he made good throws. I mean.
Yep.
I know it wasn't the greatest game statistically, but if I'm just looking at Drew to evaluate him, I think the guy did phenomenal today. He took care of the ball. He got out of the pocket when he needed to. But one thing he did when he left the pocket, he kept his eyes downfield, and made throws. So
100%.
People who want to say that Drew does not have what it takes to play in the NFL, I think Drew does have what it takes to play in the NFL. Drew just needs the right coaches that are going to use his strengths to play in the NFL.
For me, if you're going to take one thing out of this game and you're going to say, hey, there's a positive this came out of this game, it was 100% what Drew Lock did on the field today. Today was the first day that I actually saw Drew Lock make the progression that I wanted him to see. He's still a little bit staring down his first and second receiver. But as far as like you were saying, bailing in the pocket, taking bad sacks, when he like you said, he always used to bail outside the back of the pocket. He'd never step up in the pocket. He'd never step into his throws. He was stepping into his throws. He was stepping up through traffic. He was scrambling when he needed to be. He didn't take bad sacks. He was taking what was given to him. He wasn't forcing throws and getting interceptions. There was a lot of things on tape that we saw in this game that I hadn't seen from Drew Lock for an entire game. He would come out and he would play that way in the first 2, 3, maybe 4 series. But if you ever looked at any of his game film, by the end of the game, he's lost it. He's in this gunslinger type of mentality, and not in this game. He maintained. If you continued on that track, and we actually were able to get into the end zone once or twice, those are not bad statistics. I thought it was going to take about 35 throws, and if that was the case, he'd probably be in that 25 for 35, 23 for 35. You know what I mean? A couple of touchdowns. Not a bad statistical day if he had the opportunity.
Right. No. So I did not see one bad throw that he made today. He didn't have one of those moments where you say, what the heck is he doing?
Yeah.
You didn't have those. So, this here, I mean, bad everything. This team is trash. I wouldn't say the team's trash. I mean, we have some areas we need to improve in. I mean, and I know it's frustrating. This is the 6th season. We're not going to make the playoffs. We're not going to have a winning record. I mean, I guess we could still have a winning record.
Yes.
If we went out against the Chargers and the Chiefs. So,
question for you guys.
Kenny.
Wide receivers.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm noticing, not take away Jerry Jeudy today, what I'm noticing as someone who doesn't watch every Bronco game, is I feel Cortland Sutton and Patrick, and definitely the tight ends are underachieving. And do you think it's more Shermer because of the underachieving, or the lack of effort that the receivers are putting in, or a little of both? What do you guys see?
I'll let you take that one first, Keith.
Yeah, for guys who have continued to watch the game, we always been talking about everything that through the Pat Shermer offense seems to me outside the numbers, outside the numbers, outside the numbers, and especially when you have Teddy Bridgewater running your offense, typically that's going to be under 10 to 15 yards is where those that ball placement is going to be set at. We've seen our wide receivers struggle through that. Maybe give up at times, I would say, but it's I wouldn't say it's a team that you just see giving up on the field. We've all seen that in years past when a team was just obviously not putting forth any effort. The boo birds come out; they could care less. That's not the case that we've seen. You can tell by the end of the game after running the same plays and getting smacked in the teeth. The effort isn't 100% like it was at the beginning of the game. How's that?
That's fair. I'd see that. Yep. Thanks.
So I would love to. We got more production when it came to Drew Lock taking on the field, and Drew Lock is a little bit more willing to go over the middle in the middle. The few routes that we do have go over the middle, and that's where we saw some production today. Noah Fant and Judy both caught ones that came over the middle that were big pass plays for us, but majority of them just tend to go the outside.
I honestly watch. I like to watch the body language of receivers and just players in general, and I honestly see a little more pep in these receivers when Drew Lock is out there. And I think it's because, one, Drew Lock is going to take those chances, and he's going to try to throw down the field every now and then. So these guys are knowing that they're not just out there running, 30 and 40-yard wind sprints, and there's no chance that they're going to get the ball. I think Drew Lock did a good job of trying to spread the ball around. He went 4 targets to Jerry Jeudy, so Jerry Jeudy caught 3 of them. 5 targets to Cortland Sutton. He caught 4 of them for 33 yards. 4 targets to Noah Fant. 4 targets to Tim Patrick. So he was spreading the ball around. He's trying to get it downfield. There was just some plays where, and I don't blame Drew Lock. We had like a 3rd and whatever. I can't remember what the down was. And Pat Shermer calls a screenplay. We've never been a great screen running offense, and you got a 3rd and you need, and this is why we were 1 for 10 on 3rd downs. And you're not going to win a football game being 1 for 10 on 3rd down. If you only pick up 10% of your opportunities, you're not going to win football games. And
you better be rolling the dice and getting really lucky on 4th down conversions.
The Broncos today made the Raiders defense look like the '85 Bears, and that's bad.
Oh man,
that is bad. That's bad. That you can, but the Russian 7 for 12, Javonte Williams, that boggles my mind. And Gordon had less. Had less. Just stick with it. You notice as a Pee-wee coaching Pee-wee level, coaching high school level. If the ground game's go at your strength. If it's the ground game that's your strength, you stick with it. It's a 1 possession game. Williams and Gordon should have had 15 to 20 carries each.
Yeah, Melvin Gordon 7 carries for -4 yards.
Yeah, you stick with it and you change things up. You change a play here, you play action. You throw a sweep, screen pass. You change it up. You don't just run the same running play.
Well, there's your problem right there. And that's the only reason I would say that we need to pass more is because we're unwilling to change the actual plays that are being on the field. The only play that I saw that was a little bit different was a play that continuously got blown up in the backfield today. And this was this long developing sweep handoff that we then pretend like we're going to pass out to the other side. Oh my gosh, it was just getting blown up for a 3 to 4 yard loss every single time we ran it, and like you said,
Well,
if you're willing to go out there, you're willing to change it up and willing to stay committed to the run, but change what you're doing because what you weren't doing was not working. That's one thing. But I'm sorry, I looked at our game plan today as far as the running, and it's like that's what actually, unfortunately, put us in the hole. Every
Right.
time that we went out there and we ran 2 plays, well, you can see if we ran 2 plays with the output that we had, what our third down was looking like. We had 3rd and long in those situations. So, heaven forbid you had an incomplete pass and a running play, you're already in 3rd and long situations. So,
See, if I'm one of the assistant coaches and I know my job's on the line, and I'm going to go right to Vic and I'm going to say, hey, we need to run the ball more. If I'm Shula, for example, we need to run the ball more. This is bull crap. We need to run the ball more. And if Vic don't listen, I'm going right to the GM. Listen, I talked to Vic. We all know we need to run the ball more. We need to run the ball more. You're right. You're right. You know what? Vic, we're firing Shermer. Shermer, you're gone on Monday morning. That's it. That's what I would do as a coach. I've been there.
good for you, man. I like it. Plus, I know you're such a big Pat Shermer fan, being a Giants guy too.
Yeah, it's a business. It's not about friendships in the NFL. It's a business.
No, and it can't be about friendships in the NFL. I mean, if Pat is Vic's friend and that's why Pat's still here, then that's a huge problem. I mean, you just can't have those kind of relationships in the NFL because there's not a lot of people around that do this type of work, that are qualified to do this type of work. So it's not like, I can just go get so-and-so, I mean, it's hard to replace people with good coaches. And I mean,
I bring it up again. If you were up against the 85 Bears and these were the stats, you accept it. This was the Raiders defense that you put these numbers up against. That is unacceptable.
A Raiders team that had been struggling, had lost 5 of their last 7 games, internal turmoil and everything else. And once again, the Broncos have beat them, and now we are 2-6 against the Raiders over the last 8 games. So, I mean,
and that brings up a good point. I know that we were looking at kind of where we sit, with Vic Fangio and Drew Lock in our pregame show, but we talked about Vic Fangio was brought in for one big reason. That was to stop the Kansas City Chiefs. At the time that he was brought in, we didn't have anything but Phillip Rivers sitting in with the Chargers. Derek Carr wasn't, and the Raiders weren't anything that we were really considering a big potential threat within our AFC West. It was really he was brought in to stop the Kansas City Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes, and honestly, I said it earlier this year when we played him last. It was his game to win or lose. I wanted him gone if he wasn't able to stop him. Well, 22 points. I thought he did admirably against a Kansas City team. But now look at his record when it comes to the Raiders, the lowly Raiders.
That was a mind-boggling stat this morning on the pregame show.
Yeah. We do have the Chargers number just a little bit, and that's been kind of amazing. Even as they've come on as of lately, we beat them on their last game. They'll be coming into town and kind of beat up once again next Sunday. Or I guess we'll be heading to them. But
yeah.
To me, it's at some point you got to start winning your division games, though. Too, I guess that's I guess that's where I'm getting to when it's all coming down.
You can't
if you're losing to the lowly Raiders, then what's going to happen eventually with the Chargers and what's been happening with the Chiefs?
Right. You can't say, well, we're getting close to the Chiefs. Well, close isn't going to win you a division.
No.
You have to win these games, and you got to get the right coaches and the right players in here to compete with a team like Kansas City.
And you know what? You need to find your quarterback. Like I said, you get a stopgap guy, whether it's Jimmy Garoppolo or Matt Ryan or Kirk Cousins, stick with him for a couple of years and build your rookie, because you're stuck with Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert for at least the next 10 years in your division. Mm-hmm. Derek Carr ain't going to be there another 10 years, but you got the 4th best quarterback in the division. You ain't getting higher than the Raiders with their quarterback situation. And you need to get at least third next year and then move forward going, maybe you get that rookie quarterback, sit behind a solid leader and learn from somebody.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
that's the way you got to go. I think that's the only way to go.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, gentlemen, it's been another, how do you say it? Another somber post-game show.
Yeah.
Man, hopefully one of these days we turn this around and we really, our post-game shows are going to be enjoyable and not just, so.
Yeah, down in the dumps.
This has been every week for me. So
Yeah,
I don't think I've had a good one all year.
At least you can smile a little bit more when it's not your team, right?
Yeah, like now, and then the worst case scenario, the Bears beat Seattle today, so we'll lose. That draft pick went a little higher now.
Right.
I guess we'll just have to wait another week. We're waiting another week for Vic Fangio's 8th win as a Denver Bronco. We've been waiting a couple of weeks now. It's eventually going to happen. He hasn't done it yet. It's year 3. We're hoping for an 8-win season.
It's going to be tough.
He even got he even got an extra game this year in order to achieve it. So,
right. So I mean, and this is Victor's prediction here is that Drew Lock's going to end up going to Indy, and I could see Drew Lock fitting in a Frank Reich type offense.
Yeah,
I think he would be a good fit, and I think that's the issue is Drew Lock needs to get into an offense that is going to use Drew Lock's skills. So, but thanks for the comment, Victor. All right, guys. So we got two left. Like Keith said, we're going to try to get to 8 wins. We go to Los Angeles and host or take on the Chargers, who they're coming back with their tail between their legs after the Texans knocked them around. And I think somebody on here said they wanted to pick the Texans.
Yeah.
So,
I said the Tyrod Taylor.
You should have went.
Tyrod.
Yeah, you should have went with your gut instinct there, Kenny. I got to watch my gut instinct because I went with the Steelers over the Chiefs, and
that was
that was bad.
I'm sure sitting next to your Steeler fan wife was even more difficult.
Oh, she's not happy at all. So
I can only imagine.
She cannot wait until Ben's out of there.
They're in serious danger of having their first losing record, I think, since 2002.
Tomlin has never had a losing record as a coach.
That's dangerously going to happen this year.
Yeah,
close to happening, I should say.
So, but hey, guys, thanks for Kenny. We really want to thank you for jumping in, filling in for Matt. Everybody, Kenny is with K&K Sports Show out of New York, back east. So check them out. They're on. Go ahead and plug your show when you guys are on, Kenny.
Well, you can watch us after you watch Rocky Mountain Sports. We're on 8:00 Eastern time, so 6:00 Mountain time on Wednesdays. So you can watch us, the recorded version of us Wednesdays, and then Thursdays we do a show called Wits and Wagers. It's all like sports betting, pick the games. We'll give you some advice. That's at 4 p.m. Mountain time, 6 p.m. Eastern time, Thursday nights. Thank you guys so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you, Kenny and Keith.
And love when you guys come on our show.
Yeah, and thanks for having us. So, Keith, and make sure you stay warm up there. So, getting a little chilly up there, huh?
Yeah, my morning commute should be either -10 or -11. One of the two. We'll see how it goes.
Do you have to plug your car in up there?
You probably should. We'll see how it goes tomorrow morning.
But do a lot of people do that up there? Do you guys get cold enough up there? I know, like in upper parts of Minnesota and Michigan, they do that. So
yeah, we have quite a few people that plug their car in, especially as many diesel pickups as we have sitting up here, man. You definitely plug those diesels in. There's no chance they start without it.
Right? Yeah, the diesel fuel just turned to gel for you, so you have a fun time trying to start that thing up in the morning. All right, gentlemen. Hey, we will be back Wednesday. It'll be Keith and myself. Matt will be out on Wednesday. So, if anybody's interested in joining us, reach out to Keith or myself, and we may possibly be able to get you on and have a third wheel for for the show, but we definitely do appreciate everybody tuning in and watching. Sorry it couldn't be a more joyous show, but I don't know what to say. Unfortunately, hopefully next year. There's always next year, right, Keith?
There's always next year. There's always getting excited for next week and beating the Los Angeles Chargers. So that's another reason they should tune into our show. And you want to see everything kind of develop. You know what I mean? Well, I don't care if it's hey, we might have a new offensive coordinator to be talking about. Hopefully, we have another progression of Drew Lock. There's still things to be excited about for at least a couple more games.
Yeah,
we'll try to bring it across from you and not give up completely on this season, right, Dave?
Right. That's right. So join us Wednesday night, 6 p.m. Mountain Time right here or on YouTube. Check us out on our other social media outlets. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, we're on where else? TikTok. I mean, we're everywhere. So just look us up and remember, check out the guys at K&K, follow them, and check out their show. All right, everybody, have a great night. Thanks for joining us, and we will see you Wednesday.